So I appreciate the comments on my first ramble on memories of internet gaming disorder. Uh, Badger says that Baymu was his text based crack back in the day. Mine was Forest's Edge. Bewildered Ape, Bewildered Ape says at the moment he views video games as a meditation where he enters into a cognitive synergy with the software during stressful times. And I'd say, as long as it spits you out on the other end more mentally rested and ready for real life, then maybe it's a good thing, if that's what you're using it for. Self-care. The Sammy Jenkins experience said that basically World of Warcraft was fun with arranging with other players what time you were going to slay the demon, but the grind basically got to him of just trying to max out each level of character, like get all your different classes up to the max level. And then he said one day he just quit cold turkey, looked at it, and decided it wasn't for him. And then Yellow Labrador said that he saw what games were doing to other people when he was into programming, and then he didn't let his kids near video games. He never had a computer at home until after his kids were out of the house. Well, I wonder how much better his kids are for it. Anyways, part 2 of my memories of internet gaming disorder. And this one's going to be a little bit more recent. This is in the last 5 years. The roots of all this, heretofore undiagnosed by a professional internet gaming disorder, were already discussed in part 1, if you didn't watch that one. But, I'm down to the nitty-gritty of subscribers nowadays. But parts of that story, are what buttresses up this story. So I was basically saying that now I'm about 10 years out from cold turkey on MMO RPG video games like EverQuest 2 and World of Warcraft, stuff like that. But for the last 5 years, I've had a different sort of game kind of crawl up into my life, and that's cell phone gaming. Right? So where it started was when I was working at area hospitals as a security guard, earning hours towards licensure as an addiction counselor, but at the bottom of the totem pole, watching drunks in the emergency room, watching suicidal people and all that. And sometimes that's an exciting job. There's a lot to do. And sometimes the job is to sit there in the same room as somebody who is sleeping or passed out, one of the two. And it can last for 12 hours of nothing but watch someone sleep. So I started sneaking video games into work on my cell phone. I would actually sneak a cell phone charger into my sleeves, because in cold nights, and they would set the temperature of these rooms just chilly enough to make you want to pull the covers up over you and go to sleep. On cold nights, the cell phone charger that I had in my sleeve would warm up a little bit, so it was like a sleeve warmer. But I would angle my phone so that I could see if somebody was coming into the room, like a nurse or my boss or something. But I'd be able to just stick my cell phone into my sleeve really quickly, and uh, they would be none the wiser. These were clients that sometimes they were even restrained to a bed. They're not going anywhere. I'm just there in case, and I needed to stay awake, so I was keeping myself mentally awake by playing these video games. Couldn't really watch YouTube because noise. I don't want to wake up Sleeping Beauty. So started playing Clash of Clans first, and then that led to Boom Beach. That was by the same makers of Clash of Clans, but I now have accounts on both of those games that are like 5 years on now. Like, I'm a really loyal player of video games. I don't like spreading myself too thin and just experiencing level 1 of every video game. I want to see what the end content is. And it's been 5 years of on and off, it taking up a bit of my life here and there. Sometimes it's good, like when you're in the DMV and you got nothing else to do for 3 hours till they call your number, but sometimes when it starts to be that time warp that you find yourself in, where you had something to do and then 30 minutes later you're like, damn, I could have been doing that for the last 30 minutes. When it's like that, then it's got you. And I don't like to be there. Anyways, the games that I've played in the last 5 years, Boom Beach and Clash of Clans, Toon Blast, Angry Birds 2, Brawl Stars, Bricks and Balls, Bejeweled Classic and Bejeweled Blitz, and Chess Time. And that's not a very impressive list of games. Seems like they're some of them are the more boring games, but the levels that I have attained in those games are impressive or embarrassing. Take your pick. I decided that they are probably the biggest vice that I have, and as a project, I decided to go cold turkey from all of them for a number of weeks. And I wasn't satisfied with the notion that I would just uninstall the games from my phone and then go the entire abstinence project without having the temptation that they give you with these daily notifications on your phone. So in order to better understand the hooks that they had in me, I decided to leave the games installed on my phone, and I actually created a special screen for all the games where I arranged the icons in an X so that I wouldn't click on them. I wouldn't tap on them. Just the X would remind me, hey, you're not playing video games right now. And then I sent a message to my friends in Boom Beach, letting them know that I was, undertaking this abstinence project, and that I'd be back after the project was over. And I told my good friend Austin, who I play chess with regularly, that I'd be doing the project as well. And those were like the two games that I felt socially connected to people in. They're the only games that really had that social component sunk in. I used to be a part of a YouTube atheists Clash of Clans clan, and then for lack of participation in the game, I got kicked out. I wasn't a serious enough gamer. If you don't join in on the, cooperative gaming aspects of the thing, then you're just dead weight, and they didn't want me. So it had nothing to do with the chat. I wasn't really even part of the chat. Might have been, butthurt feelings from the YouTube side of things, but they never told me that. It was just, hey, you're not participating. You're out of the clan. But, yeah, Boom Beach, when I found a good task force in it, it started opening up more of the game that I had never experienced just as a solo player, and I was appreciative of that. But fear of internet gaming addiction had steered me away from games that involve other people, because I'm very regretful for the time in my life that internet friendships were substituted for real life friendships. So I took a few screenshots to show like what level I was at when I started the project, right? And then basically I just took a screenshot of the X, to see like if at the end I didn't want to play any of those games, then I'd know where I was, and that would be it. That would be the capstone of it. And the next notification that I woke up to was from Boom Beach saying that Operation Stronghold would end soon, and I haven't attacked yet. And I immediately felt some guilt because I hadn't contributed to the mission yet, and the game regularly gives these prompts to you so that you don't let down your fellow task force members, and these are guys that got me to the end game content, and I wasn't there for them, But I was used to that heartstring being pulled. That was a notification that I saw a whole bunch anyway, so I knew it was coming. But I just took a screenshot of the notification and swiped it away. And I kept screenshotting the notifications every time they came so that I could compile for myself kind of a good selection of these notifications during this time, so I could kind of deconstruct them to see what about the way that they're worded might be addictive. What sort of strategies are they using to get you to come back in the game? And then over the next 2 weeks is when I felt the most physical withdrawal from these games. I'm sitting right here on my living room couch and watching TV. I felt this urge in my hand, and it went from like my thumb to my heart, right? This whole circuit of nerves right here. And it was basically wanting me to play the video game while I was watching TV. And I got this sense that I couldn't pay attention to the TV because I wasn't playing my little puzzle video game at the same time. But intuitively, you would think, if you're splitting your attention between the TV and the video game, that you're not giving the TV your full attention anyway. You should be able to concentrate more without having the game in your hand. Without the game in my hand, I didn't feel like I was able to concentrate on the TV. And that went on for about 2 weeks. After that, it didn't feel the same. I felt normal watching TV I can concentrate again, you know. But yeah, it was about 2 weeks of that feeling of like there's something missing. I can't sit here and watch this without doing that other thing. It's like how buttered popcorn goes with your experience of watching a movie theater movie. My cell phone game was part of the authentic experience of watching something in my living room. Um, I just became very used to it. So, what I noticed about the pattern of the notifications that I got, the advertising that gets you to come back to the video game, these notifications for the first couple weeks kept going for Boom Beach and Clash of Clans, but then they stopped. And what I figure happened there is like after a certain prolonged amount of time, those programmers might be thinking, if he hasn't picked up the game in like 3 weeks, putting out these notifications every day is probably going to piss him off. He's going to delete us. So let's just like stay silent and just on his phone for when he remembers that he has the game, rather than trying to say, hey, play us, every day, right? That was like their strategy, to just stay on the phone, right? But Toon Blast and Bejeweled, they are of the mindset of, no, we're just going to give you a notification every day just to remind you that we exist. And that's another way of going at it. In fact, that would be the school of thought that leads cigarette manufacturers to actually fund anti-cigarette campaigns, because all cigarette manufacturers need to do is remind you that cigarettes exist, even if it's in a negative context, in order to get you to want to smoke, if you were already hooked. So they know that is one way to get you, and that's something that a few of them tried. That whole truth campaign, look at who their funding was. But yeah, I definitely noticed there was something evil about the frequency that these games would give you the notifications, and how one decided on the strategy of, after a little while, we're just going to figure we need to go dark to make sure we don't get deleted. That was something interesting in my data set, that they just stopped after 2 or 3 weeks. There was one episode that happened in October. What happened was Misty gave me a message from a guy named Vonald, who was in our team on Toon Blast. And Vonald, he was the leader of the Sleeping Lions. That's the name of the team. If you want to join us, that's what it is. Go ahead and look us up. Anyways, Vonald was removing dead weight, people who hadn't been playing in a week or two, because they're trying to make a team where everyone's playing, because there's this team versus team, let's collect the most stars by beating the most levels sort of aspect to the game. And if you do, then you get a lot of coins that you can then use to buy like little cheats for the game, where you can cheat on a level a little bit, So Donald was like, well, where's your boyfriend? And then Misty's like, well, he's in this abstinence project. And he's like, well, tell him he needs to get on the game and remove himself from the team, because if I boot him from the team, the game won't let him rejoin the team. he has to leave by himself or else he'll be locked away from the team forever. And I told Misty, I am not going to touch a cell phone video game during this abstinence project. And she mocked me a little bit, said it was a stupid little project. But then she said, well, what if you gave me your phone and I logged into the game and then removed you from the team? And then I thought about it. I was like, well, that's not me in the game doing it. So I let her, because it was important to her. She wants me back on her team when the project's over. So she logged into it, removed me from the team, and that was it. But later on, in reflecting on that, I felt like it's similar to how if you have a substance use addict who is in a detox or residential setting, and then they're wanting to return home to their apartment, but they know that there are drugs or alcohol in the apartment, they'll tell their family members to sweep the apartment first. If they don't have family members to do that, then they either have to avoid wherever they know the drugs and alcohol are, or they're just going to be faced with the temptation head on, and they'll have to overcome it, right? And if you don't have a support group around you to help you out, then that's what you're left with. And that was Misty being part of my support group. I was going to miss out on something later if I didn't face the temptation, and so I had her face it for me. That's how I connect the dots there. That's the parallel I see. Yeah, I was taking this way too seriously, right? So I ended my sabbatical from all the cell phone games on November 15th. And then I stopped collecting my daily screenshots of notifications and stuff, and I examined them for their strategies, the content, and what I realized was the ones that just like from Toon Blast or from Bejeweled that just said, hey, amazing treasure awaits, or hey, get bonus coins today. Anything like that didn't really land with me, and I noticed that they used really awesome words and amazing words in their prompts. Those didn't really pull me in to wanting to tap on it. Normally if those sort of notifications come, I'd probably just swipe, get rid of it off my screen. But they do serve to remind you that the game exists. So there's that. What really got me were the more devious, addiction-pushing notifications that would tie. They would tie in how much other real people who played the game need you to come back to the game. Little reminders saying, hey, your village needs a leader, come back, chief, or hey, you haven't attacked in this group project yet, and there's one attack per person, and without you they're all going to fail, those sort of things in a little notification I felt were far more addictive. They were far more compelling to get me to try to push that. And it's because there were times in those games that I wasn't getting far, and when I joined that group of people, I got farther in the game. And that reminds me of when certain drugs are put together the combination of the two is stronger than either one on itself and then added to each other. It's more like a multiplication. It's an order of magnitude worse. Say alcohol and benzos, or alcohol and opiates, opiates and benzos, opiates and cocaine. Mix the two, and there's this effect, right, in your head that makes it way more addictive than either thing alone. And mixing the video games with the social component is the same. Either one is slightly addictive. Put them together, far more addictive than either of the two of them, or the two of them just put together. It's like they multiply the addictiveness. And that's what I take away from this little abstinence project that I undertook. That's my major epiphany right there. Since I ended the project, I've only played 3 of those games. The first one was chess time with my friend Austin, because I'm networking with him. We're bouncing ideas about our future as clinicians, back and forth. We're talking, and I liken it sort of to legislators playing golf. you know. I play this game to network with him. The second one I put back in my life was Toon Blast, and I only do it sparingly. But I play with Misty, and when I get 3 stars in a level, I like to show it to her, and she likes to tell me to piss off because I got another 3-star level. It's just beautiful moments. And I checked on Boom Beach to see what sort of things their programmers had added to the game in the time that I was away. And I realized it doesn't have the same luster for me that it did when I stopped playing for weeks. I think in that time I started doing things like daydreaming about my future, making lists of things that I wanted to do. Not actually doing much of it, but I did do some house chores, and I slept better because I wasn't keeping myself up late to get that next level or expend that last life that I had trying to get to the next level, stuff like that. Not waking up in the middle of the night and deciding to play a video game to try to get back to sleep, which doesn't work because it just wakes you up more. All that stuff being gone out of my life, I feel like it made my life a little bit better. So I don't think I'll be playing a lot of Boom Beach in the future, because part of those lists that I was making were things to do that will actually benefit me in the real world. And there's no bit of those games and the accolades that they give you digitally on that screen that really translates into real world benefits at all. And those real world benefits are what I will talk about in part 3 of me rambling about internet gaming disorder.